Okay, the second epistle of John. And the third epistle of John, which I'll do in this video. Many have said this, that these two were written in a sort of encoded language because they were already in a time of persecution. So they were coding things a certain way. So I'll let you know what's what. Okay, the elder, so that must be, it's from him, to the elect lady and her children. So this sounds like it's, the children are like the Christians and the elect lady. It could be that the church met in her home, something like that. Whom I love in truth, and not only I, but also all those who have known the truth, because of the truth which abides in us and will be with us forever. Grace, mercy, and peace will be with you from God the Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. I rejoiced greatly that I have found some of your children walking in truth, as we received commandment from the Father. So again, instead of saying the church, the Christians, he's saying your children. So that's what it seems like is happening. 5. And now I plead with you, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment to you, but that which we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. This is love, that we walk according to his commandments. This is the commandment, that as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. For many deceivers have gone out into the world who do not confess Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. There's that Gnosticism thing again. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. Look to yourselves that we do not lose those things we worked for, but that we may receive a full reward. So here's a warning, it can be lost, or partially something can be lost, right? So, all right. 9. Whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Christ does not have God. So there's that, right? Doctrine is important. Doctrine of Christ, they don't abide in it, then they're in trouble. He who abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. So there's that package deal again that I talked about in the last video. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this doctrine, do not receive him into your house, nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. All right. So again, whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Christ does not have God. So there's that. He who abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. So it's important to abide in the correct doctrine of Christ. And it's both. It's both or neither, Father and Son. Now this is important with 10. Okay, if anyone comes to you and does not bring this doctrine, do not receive him into your house, nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. See, this is why we divide. This is why we, have separation, or what some have even called levels of separation, or degrees of separation. This is why, if there's a false teacher, you don't share a platform with him. You don't share a stage with him at a Christian conference. You don't shake his hand. You don't, speak to him in a warm, civilized way of saying bless you, or receive him as a brother or anything. Okay? Do not receive him into your house, nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. So that makes you just as guilty as him. Now you're an accomplice to his false teaching, And we can't do that in any way, shape, or form with any of these false teachers. It doesn't matter what it is. It applies to all of it. We have to make that distinction and divide from them. There's a line of separation there, and we need to honor that, or we'll be guilty of this, because it looks like, they are endorsing them. If they're shaking their hand and welcoming them and calling them brother, that's exactly what they're doing. They're uniting with them, and that we cannot do. We need to be separate from them, and beyond that even, we need to expose them and their false teaching, point out the error so we can warn the others not to fall into the false teachings. And that's what we need to do. And that's our responsibility. And it doesn't matter who likes it and who doesn't like it. That's what we need to do. So, anyway, okay, 12. Having many things to write to you, I did not wish to do so with paper and ink. Again, he's not wanting to write too much down on paper here, see? But I hope to come to you and speak face to face, that our joy may be full. He'd rather talk in person than put it in writing. The children of your elect sister greet you. Amen. So the same thing, it's coded language. He doesn't want to give out names and that kind of thing. Okay, now I'll go right over to the next one. See, it's half a page, literally, each one. The third epistle of John. This will be short as the other one was long, to make up for it. Okay. The elder, same thing, with that. To the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. Okay, so there's one person. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. Okay, now they'll twist that for sure. 3. For I rejoiced greatly when brethren came and testified of the truth that is in you, just as you walk in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. So again, coded, it's kind of coded. And again, this isn't what they'll say it is, because the rest of the Bible does away with prosperity gospel, health and wealth, heresies, okay? So, okay. 5, beloved, you do faithfully whatever you do for the brethren and for strangers who have borne witness of your love before the church. If you send them forward on their journey in a manner worthy of God, you will do well, because they went forth for his name's sake, taking nothing from the Gentiles. We therefore ought to receive such, that we may become fellow workers for the truth. Okay, so those doing right, we should receive, and then we'll be associating with them, and that's good. Then that blessing extends to us. It's the opposite as the other thing. Okay, now these two. All right, 9. I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. Okay, I gotta park the car and talk for a while here. Here we have the concept of naming them by name and calling them out by name. False teachers, okay? It's biblical to do so. So, nothing wrong with that. He does it right here, so it's biblical. Again, I kind of talk about more things than names, because I just want to be extra careful on here. I don't want any issues, but it's kind of obvious anyway. But anyway, here's that thing that, yes, it's biblical to do so. And it's interesting, this guy who's a false teacher, false leader and all that, what an interesting coincidence that he loves to have the preeminence among them. Okay, there's that. and he does not receive us. Now, that is a slap. I mean, can you imagine? This guy thinks he's better, and he's not going to receive John, who was the favorite of Jesus, by the way. I mean, wow. Talk about arrogant and wrong. I mean, dead wrong right there. So, okay, I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds, which he does, prating against us with malicious words. So, yes, expose their deeds, definitely. There it is right there. It's biblical. All right. And not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. So, here, I mean, it's obvious what he was doing, but we see that pattern over and over again. And many times the true church is ostracized from the false brethren and put outside of the church walls. That happens often. Today is no exception. Okay, so that's what they'll do. Okay, if you're doing the right thing, by the way. 11. Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. He who does good is of God, but he who does evil has not seen God. Demetrius has a good testimony from all and from the truth itself, and we also bear witness, and you know that our testimony is true. Okay, so this was the bad guy, this was the good guy, and they're being contrasted. That's what's going on, okay? Okay, now 13. I had many things to write, but I do not wish to write to you with pen and ink. Same thing again. 14. But I hope to see you shortly, and we shall speak face to face. There's that again. Peace to you. Our friends greet you. Greet the friends by name. So you see the idea, like he's not mentioning their names to protect them both ways. So it's just, greet one another and you know who you are. That's it. He doesn't want to have them named. So it's sort of the kind of thing when you have an underground church, no need to put names and addresses on, right? So that kind of thing. That's why also, for the longest time with things that have been exposed on the internet, people have been, anonymous. They're not using their actual names. And it's always the wolves who wanted them to use their real names. And one of their false threats or accusations or whatever was like, oh, well, how come you won't use your real name? Well, why can't we know who you are, what your real name is? All the time that came up. And well, how do we know we can believe you if we don't even know your name? That has nothing to do with it. It's either true or it's not true. And once the person puts their name out there, they're making themselves a target. And on top of that, I mean, let's say this guy's name is Mark or something. Oh, like that's really going to tell you who he is. I mean, there's so many Marks out there. Come on, I mean, it's just a way they can find out who you are. And it's better to be anonymous. It profits you nothing to expose your own identity, and you make yourself a target for no reason. So this is how they would operate. That's how the underground church would operate, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that if it keeps you safe, okay? There are certain things you have to confess, and that all has to do with Jesus, okay? You have to confess you're a Christian. You can't deny that. Those kinds of things you have to confess, okay? But details otherwise, it's none of their business where you live, Okay, so yeah, too much confidential personal information should not be shared, and that's it, to keep you safe. So if you're ever in that situation, now you know what to do. Okay, So that was the short video on this. There's not a whole lot in these, but there was enough for them to include it. This right here was enough with Diotrephes. So, okay, you can expose their deeds, their words, their names. It's all biblical to expose that when they're in error. So there's nothing unloving about that. That's our job, to warn the sheep. I mean, who are you protecting, right? So, okay, that's it. Now I'll do Jude. I'll be right back.